Hey, everybody. This is Not Your Mother's Day Fantasy League podcast. I'm your host, Mike. As always, I'm joined by our esteemed analyst, Dave, who does the research so you don't have to. And we got some special guests this week. We have our two maybe conference championships. Uh,
One
Mike's
for
got it
sure.
locked up for the Bears. Nick needs some points from a corner, but thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So, for those of you who don't know, we got Cincinnati Nick and we got Chicago Mike on the phone or online with us tonight. We can deem Chicago Mike the champ already. He's got a game in hand here. He's up by 10 points. Got a punter left. We got Rice Krispie treats coming in.
Oh.
Look at that, and she's taking her computer. How about that?
Hi, Wanda. Hi, Wanda.
She's gone. So, anyways, yes, Chicago Mike, you got your punter left. As long as he goes up, it doesn't go off for negative 10 points. I don't know if that's possible with a punter or not. You should be fairly safe with that.
I think so. Is it possible for punters to get negative points?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No, we had talked about it, but Hayden didn't want to pay any money for that, so we didn't make that.
So, anyways, first of all, congrats to Chicago Mike. Like I said earlier, when we were talking earlier, you kind of got this dream playoff chase going on. You know, you jumped in as the 7th seed, came in late, did not make it until the final game, actually. You needed some help from myself and from the Commanders knocking Flick out to open up a playoff spot for me to get moved up for you to take that 7th spot. And now you've gone on a roll, and now you're the first NFC champ. So why don't you just give us a recap of what you experienced? What you experienced yesterday playing a fantasy football game for $1,000. What was that like when it's down to 10 points?
Oh man! So I said on Slack last night. It was literally before. I mean, Baker had a horrible first quarter. I think Evans had one catch, and literally I'm watching every play, and it's going from the probability of success or the win probability is going from 20 to 18 to it was all the way down to like 3. I'm like, I just got to walk away and grab a beer. And so walked away. Second half they came back and started looking a little bit better, but it was never there until the very end. I figured if I could get within 5, the punter would do me well.
Right.
And to Hayden's credit, he had a couple of guys that went for goose eggs. Late scratches. It could have gone very differently.
Yeah, Hayden had JT went off for like 54 points and 3 touchdowns, and every time he crossed the goal line yesterday, he had 2 hands on that ball. Getting that ball all the way with him the whole time. So tough loss for Hayden. Hayden also had a great playoff run also.
Yep.
So congrats, Mike.
Thank you.
So over in the AFC, we still got a little bit of drama going on here. We got Nick is down, or it's actually let's talk about Miami Rich. Miami Rich is up by 7 points. Nick comes in tonight. He's down by 7 points. He's got one player left. He's got the cornerback Nixon from Green Bay playing. Now, Nick, I stated earlier on Slack this morning that your philosophy on cornerbacks, they're worthless. They're a dime a dozen. Your whole season is now riding on a cornerback for the Bengals and you. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, it is some poetic justice there, isn't it? Because I've been dogging them. I dog them all the time. And I mean, they don't matter until they do, I guess. Nixon obviously has had a good year. He's the number 3 scoring cornerback out there right now as far as overall points. I'm not sure about average. I didn't look at that. But he's certainly a viable candidate to step up and get 7.5 points. Is all we need. That'll do the trick right there. And he's done that pretty much every week, but not every week. He's had 2 weeks where he did score below that.
He's averaging 15.5 points. I've already looked it up. He's averaging 15.5, but he has had 3 games this year where he's had less than the 7.5 points that you're going to need.
Yeah. The decimating part, of course, I mean, when Hurts went down, early in the first quarter yesterday, I was like, that's it. I was actually with the wife. We went to the Fruit Hills Winery and we're sitting there and I'm like, yeah, it's done. Like that's it for me. It sucks. You come all this way and then you got to lose on a mid-game injury or an early game injury like that. Just brutal. But I think barring something like that happening tonight, it should be at least close enough that we get it in stat correction territory. I mean, we're there right now, technically. So any points that are added, provided that Nixon doesn't go bonkers and score 25, 26 points, I think we're going to stay in that stat correction realm.
And
So
then
there's
you had the 4:00 game yesterday that Josh Allen had the 4:00 game, and you're waiting for Josh Allen to put up another one of his 50 burgers like he's been doing the last couple of weeks, and it just never showed up for Rich.
Yeah, I know that had to be hurtful for Rich. He's been riding that Josh Allen wave these last several weeks, not just through the playoffs, but through the end of the season there too. So Josh Allen kind of having that first real bad game in a while, that was pretty brutal for him. But maybe it was just a little bit of the fates balancing things out a little bit, giving him his lowest scoring game since week 4. Actually, is what it looks like. I lose my quarterback. He might as well not get the best performance out of his, and away we go from there. But it was a crazy, crazy weekend to watch. Saquon, every time I turn around, he's gaining 10 yards or 70 yards. And then the Carolina game goes into OT, and I'm like, oh, man, just let Chuba get a few more carries, and a few more yards. And then he busts off a 30-yard run, and then he busts off a 25-yard touchdown run. And I was like, that feels good. That might be the one right there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you're on the edge of your first AFC championship game, your first ring, your first $1,000 fantasy game win from this league. Congrats on that. Any other adventures yesterday you want to talk about and suspense?
Well, I don't know if we had talked about it last week or not before the start of these games, but Rich is the team that knocked me out last year. I was the number 1 seed last year as well, and Rich is the one that took me down.
Yeah.
Scored 349, and he took me down. So it was nice to potentially get over that hump this year and maybe get a little justification, a little vindication, I should say, back on him. Yeah.
So Rich had 349 points last year?
I had 349. He had
you had 349. So you're going to need 349 to beat Rich this year.
Well,
that's ironic because he's at 348.6.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, isn't it? So history repeats itself.
All right. So I do have to ask, inquiring minds want to know, if you do make it out past this weekend and Hurts is hurt, because as an hour ago, he's still in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
What are you doing for a QB next week?
Well, I always look at matchups before I do anything, but the intention will be to start Bryce Young, who just went off for 37 points. He had 35 a couple weeks ago. He's been looking pretty good, and he's got a pretty decent matchup next week, if I remember right. I'm going to click on
He's
here.
playing the Buccaneers next week.
So that's not bad. I mean, Cooper Rush just looked viable playing against them. So yeah, that'll be our starting quarterback. Will be Bryce Young, the nearly forgotten one, the downtrodden one. He's going to be having to come through for us, and it's going to be important that he has a good week. Everybody has to
the guy that you've had on your taxi all year long, and nobody wanted to take him.
He's still there. So,
but hey, we know a past Super Bowl champion that continued just to throw out replaceable quarterbacks. That's how Sean did it last year.
Yeah.
He was just picking him up off the free agent list and playing him. So
yeah.
Yep.
Dave
also mentioned, I mean, it's always, hindsight is 2020, but this is kind of a coin flip. If you look at the decision of Rich to start Jacoby Myers over Keenan Allen here. Now, if you look at their stats throughout the season, it's actually pretty close. There's probably no more than 15, 20 points separating these guys. I would have been thinking Detroit's going to get up big, and throwing the ball is how they're going to stay in that game. And sure enough, they did. But this would be a totally different game had he had that 32 out of Keenan as opposed to the 7 from Jacoby Myers. That would be a 25-point deficit, a 25-point difference there. So,
well, I like to
crazy.
I think that probably stemmed from Rich's love for Purdue, and you can jump on board here too, because who was back throwing the ball yesterday? Aiden O'Connell, the Purdue grad. So I think maybe that was his line of thought. Like, Aiden's back, so he's going to feed the receivers. Didn't work, didn't happen. I think I would have been looking the other way and been like, okay, the Bears are for sure going to be in a shootout. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton. Keenan's probably the way to go there, but very thankful he made the decision that he did, because it'd pretty much be over. If not, that would.
I would be very disappointed if that is the Purdue beer goggles taking effect there, because the Raiders' offense has been very suspect all season long. If your name isn't Brock Bowers, I'm not that interested in you catching the ball for my fantasy team. So, but hey, hindsight's 2020. It could be a very different matchup had that change been made. So it's worth pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say that we do move forward. Nick, you do get your 8 points that you need out of your corner. And we have a Bengals-Bears matchup. Have you guys looked at each other's matchup next week? Mike, Bears, Chicago Mike, you have a little bit more leeway to, Nick's still got some work to do.
Yeah.
But you got a game in hand. You got a championship in hand now, and you can start to look to that first elusive Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
Or that Super Bowl matchup. You guys looked at each other's team?
I'm not speaking for Nick, but of course I've looked at his. As Nick pointed out on Slack today, we've got the Zach Bond. We're sharing
cancellation.
And so of course I'm looking at that and what that does, and the good news, based on this week, if you take out Jalen and you throw in Bryce, just as a reference point, I'm still looking good. All this stuff can change every week, but I'm looking little nervous about the running back room, but I think I got some legs to stand on, and we'll give it a shot.
Good deal.
I will say I'm probably looking forward to, no offense, Nick, but probably looking forward to playing Nick. If Rich ends up squeaking this thing out, I got the Mike Evans and the TJ Watt offset for Rich. So I'd rather have one instead of two when it comes to sharing players.
Yeah, that's fair, man. I keep hearing that nobody wants to play Rich. They're glad to play me until the week is over. I don't think Rich wanted to play me this week, but then again,
no, Rich wanted to play you 2 weeks ago, though.
He did. Yeah, he wanted to play. What was he telling me? He wanted to play. Was it Jeremy?
No, he wanted to play you instead of playing Jeremy.
That's right. It was Joey that wanted to play Jeremy instead of Rich, and of course didn't, and went down. I think anybody would have beat Joey that day. Sorry, Joe. That was a tough first round for him, but yeah, it's definitely, I like Mike's team. I feel like I'm a little bit fortunate that he is the Bears, because the Bears don't win anything. So in the end of the day here, it's amazing that they've gotten this far just being the Bears. But this team, I by no means constructed his team for him by any means, but Mike was one of the owners from the NFC that did reach out quite a bit on occasion and really wanted to learn the process as it went through, the early stages and the early weeks and the trade scenarios. He was often bouncing stuff on me. And again, I am not taking credit for his team, because he's built this team on his own. But he's a smart guy, and he was smart enough to use his resources. And I think that's probably a big part of the reason that he's here this week.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit ago before we got on the air, and he doesn't have a whole lot for next year. Not a lot of draft capital. He pretty much spent, he went all in, and it paid off. You got the ring. Don't worry about the draft picks.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. You don't win with draft picks. It's always good to have them. They're almost more useful as trade ammo than actual picks, because go back through and how many of them actually pan out. It's just not a great hit rate, even in the first round. And obviously, once you get out of the first round, it becomes a lot less likely that those players are going to hit. You've always got your gems out there, but just scrolling through this first round right now, I'd say maybe half of these guys, including 101 Marvin Harrison. Has he done anything? He's had a good rookie year, but it's not been a game changer. If that 101 could have been flipped for an asset, then that might have been the thing that put Gavin over the edge. But he's got a nice asset for the future, I guess. It's all how you balance it out.
Yeah, I think the one guy that I was looking at some stuff. So Hayden ended up sniping my first and my second round pick Brian Thomas Jr. and Xavier Leggett. And in hindsight, I would love to have Thomas back based on the year that he had. But when you look at what that turned into, it turned into Mike Evans, Jermaine Pratt, Justin Jefferson, and then kind of in a bind, Baker Mayfield. So, yeah, I mean, would I have done it differently if the good news is being ignorant back then led me to do some things that ended up panning out to be here where I am today. I probably wouldn't have done that had I had a bit more experience in a league like this. So better lucky than good any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how important was Justin Jefferson yesterday? I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that pass where what's his name? Darnold steps up kind of in through the pocket. He's almost to the line of scrimmage and just tosses it out there into double coverage because he's like, hey, my guy JJ's down there. He gets absolutely blasted. But that play right there was probably, what is a 50-yard bomb? So 5 points plus the catch, 6 points plus the touchdown, 13 points. That might have been the difference in your game right there. Just that one play from a guy like JJ.
Yep, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at you guys' draft, reminiscing on the draft day. God, how good is Brock Bowers? Ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe it.
Imagine if he had a quarterback or they had another weapon there in Las Vegas.
That kid is he's quite special. He's going to be around for a while.
So
that was a good draft pick. We'll give it up to that one.
Where do you go in the draft?
In the NFC, he went fourth. Scott got him at the number 4 pick. And the AFC, he fell all the way to the number 7 pick.
Oh, all the way to Eric of the Jaguars, like he needs another tight end.
I know. Eric's tight ends and linebackers core is always ridiculous. He's
unbelievable.
It just goes crazy. He had another draft in the first round, and of course he took a linebacker, Edrin Cooper, who looks like he'll be okay too. So right before him went Leatu Latu, not looking super great, but not bad, not a bad rookie year. Caleb, Xavier Worthy. I don't know what to think of Xavier Worthy. I know we don't want to probably turn this into a draft recap show, so I'll stop. But I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll get on and I'll just look at this stuff, and because it's just fun to go back and kind of remember the mindset and where things were at, and players that you see falling and stuff. You're like, I got to go get this guy.
Yeah, speaking of guys falling, you've got a defensive tackle that you're paying $862,000 a year for.
Yeah.
You feel guilty at all for that?
He'll get paid next year because unfortunately he was an undrafted free agent. So
which means everybody in the AFC had a chance at him.
Oh yeah, nobody drafted him. Nobody even wanted him in the free agent auction either. So that guy.
So what caught his eye that you had to pay him $862,000?
He was just a guy to take a chance on. I mean, Aaron Donald had been, kind of threatening to retire for a while. And I'm like, well, he was an early round pick, not crazy early, but he was a 3rd round pick for the Rams. I will be perfectly honest. I didn't know anything about him coming out of college. But I always go and I watch tape on these guys. He looked good enough. So you take a chance when it's that cheap. Just a guy to put on the roster, put on the taxi, and just see if he turns into anything. And obviously he's massively exceeded expectations. He's one of those tackles that you love to get because he'll get a few sacks on occasion, but he's usually good for at least a few tackles. Not this week. Didn't get a single tackle. Had 1 assist. And the crazy thing is I did do a little tinkering in the moments before things started. And one of my subs, I had been kind of going back and forth between Kobe Turner and Jeffrey Simmons, and I had Kobe Turner as my starter and Simmons on the bench. And then I ended up sitting one of my linebackers, that kid from what is his name, James Williams or whatever, from Tennessee, and put Jeffrey Simmons in instead. And again, thank God I did that. That was a
no kidding.
So Simmons went nuts in his game, 8 tackles and a sack, and that again, if I win, it's little moves like that. I'm always terrified to tinker. And again, when Hurts went down, I started doing it again. I'm looking at these running backs. I'm like, well, Rico Dowdle is kind of capped, at a certain level, and man, this, Taylor from San Francisco, who knows? That's such a great offense. But I talked myself out of that. I'm not doing that. And then it went to, before the 8 o'clock start for the Dallas game, I'm like, well, maybe Kendre Miller next evening. He's going to start tonight for the Saints. And then I thankfully talked myself out of that. But then again, Dowdle only had 12 points, or not even 12 points, so maybe that would have been the move. But the tinkering, man, it certainly can get you. It's so tempting to get in there and outthink yourself. So I try not to do that, but sometimes you just can't help yourself.
Anytime I do it, it always comes back and bites me in the butt. I mean, my gut reaction is usually right the first time, and I don't know, maybe I just remember the times that I get bit by it all the time anyway. So
yeah, rarely works out.
So anyways, congratulations to both of you guys. We'll have one winner after next week, and you guys can play an MDFL 1 next week.
There we go. Providing
that you get your 8 points that you need. Otherwise, we'll be making a long-distance phone call to Rich to recap this and how Rich wants to react to all this. So,
yeah, I think he's going to be feeling no pain. He probably already isn't down there in Key West. If I know Rich, he probably started on the airplane on the way down this morning. So he might not even know the win or lose until the morning.
Well, I remember he was saying he was throwing in the towel early, putting that white flag up early, and next thing you know, he throws up a bunch of big points, and all of a sudden he's ahead again.
That Deron Bland play about made me throw up, man. That was, I don't know if you guys were watching that part of the game last night, but I mean, my lead was solid enough, and I knew I had a guy going yet, and I was up by a few points, and I mean, the game's over. Like just hit zero, damn it, get to zero. And then that insane play where I'm like, I did that really just happen? It was like a 13-point play or something like that with him ripping the ball out. And, oh, man, I couldn't believe it. The guy had like 2 tackles the whole game until the last few minutes, and he's like turns into this tackle machine. And it was hard to watch, man. I was like just boom, boom, boom. Every time I looked, his score was going up, 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 up.
Well, Bland is Rich's guy since Rich had him for 6 pick sixes last year or something like that.
That's right.
And he would spent most of this year on the IR, so he missed out on him. But he's one of Rich's favorites. So you knew he was going to play him.
Yep. Yeah, he's a gamer. That's another cheap waiver tag that he got there. He got him on the wet for 1.2 milli. So I think in year 1, Rich was the guy that paid like who's the kid from the Colts? Moore had paid him like $6 or $7 million. Even though I had told everybody don't pay cornerbacks too much money. They're a dime a dozen, but I guess it worked out.
So what else you got, KC Mike? Or should I say eliminated Mike?
Yeah, I'm eliminated, Mike. The Chiefs don't really matter in our league right now. All right, we should just for fun, since we did the last couple of weeks, we should pick a winner. So I mean, I'm assuming that Nick is going to get the points that he needs to make the championship. And I'm not going to try to get cute. I'm picking the Bengals. He's got the highest scoring team. So unfortunately, that means I have to pick the Bengals.
Smart.
We didn't pick you last week, Mike or Nick. I want you to know that.
I know. Actually, it is a little nerve-wracking that Mike's picking me now. I think he's doing it on purpose. He's like, oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I'll pick the Bengals. Not because I want him to lose.
Well, Casey, Mike, and I've already talked about this, so my heart says, Chicago Mike, I'm rooting for you, okay? I'm really rooting for you and the NFC. But the mind says Cincinnati Nick's probably going to win. So you hear my disappointment in my voice. I'm rooting for you, Mike. You got to do it for NFC. Do it for the NFC.
I guess I'll be in the minority here on the podcast and say I gotta go Bears, right?
You gotta go.
I gotta go Bears.
So,
hey, there's a good chance he won't be able to start Hurts. So I mean that definitely bodes well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick, if you want to go Bears, I'll allow
it. All right. You know what? Let's do it. That way we got 2 and 2. So I'm going for Bears. Huge Bears fan, as you guys know. Huge fan. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I should have looked at how much matters next week for the Bills. I guess there's 2 weeks left, so everything kind of still matters at this point. Can they catch the Chiefs and get the number 1 seed?
They mathematically can, but they've got to win 2, and KC's got to lose 2 now.
So they're definitely okay. I was like, maybe they sit Josh Allen. He is hurt. He's been playing hurt, obviously. So I'm like, yeah, maybe, or maybe they get just a big old lead and they set him out for a while. That'd be okay too.
Well, Josh Allen isn't an issue now because both teams that have him are out.
Oh, why was I thinking that Mike had him?
Oh no, that's not.
No,
Baker. That's right. I mixed up. My notes are wrong here. But yeah, you got Baker. That's right. So that does not apply. Baker's definitely got stuff to play for after the.
He does need to. Yeah, they need a win.
Yeah.
He's got Baker and he's got Cooper Rush.
Oh,
if you throw Bryce Young out there, you should throw Cooper Rush out there and see what happens there.
Let's pick each other's quarterbacks. I'm going to pick Mac Jones for you, actually. You get to start Mac Jones next week.
All right, I'll pick Bo.
There you go, man. And you can also send Penix. I've got Penix now. So
now this is where
that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, this is where you pick. This is where you pick Hurts, who is still in concussion protocol, Mike.
There you go.
Right. See, these are the things that I need to know about this league.
We're looking out for you, man.
It's the bylaws. Yeah, it's in there.
It's all good, but we will have a MDFL Super Bowl champion next week. You guys are playing for an extra $700. Not nearly as much fun as playing for $1,000 this week, but you're gonna play for $700 next week. And that trophy that I have no idea where it's been at with Valentine, what Sean's been doing it for the last year. So good luck with that. Make sure you get it all cleaned up before you bring it home. Get it sanitized. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you might have to do that before we present it. Who knows what Sean did with it? So
we're gonna take it through the car wash in the back of somebody's truck before we present it at the owner.
There you go.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Casey, Mike, we forgot to do pick'ems, but I also want to do a 217 pick.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, go ahead and update on the 217.
217 pick. Definitely got some movers here. After the first 3 weeks, we got 1 week left in the AFC. Sean and his Broncos are still number one with 937. Browns moved into second at 886, and the Steelers followed up at 866. 50 points still within reach. The reason I say that is last week, this time, the Panthers had a commanding lead in the NFC, and Flick put up a 202 this week. I'm not sure what kind of players he's got left. But anyways, it dropped him from number 1 down to 3. And coming on strong in the NFC, number 1, the last guy out of the NFC North who did not make the playoffs, sitting number 1 at 954 over the Saints at 863. So almost a 90-point lead for that 217 pick for your counterpart of the other NFC North. So other good representation of that NFC North if Jordan can hang on to that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Jordan's done. Flick's got 2 guys left. I'm not sure who they are, but it looks like it's a cornerback and then another defensive player.
Yeah, I haven't got that much depth into it, but he's chasing almost 90 points also. So still got next week to play, but that's what happens when you put up a 202 spot in a week. So Flick led the first 2 weeks.
All right, then I suppose last but not least is Pick'em. I made up some ground on Mike here, but we are still both 5 back from Dave. And the crazy thing is, if it weren't for week 12, he'd have a double-digit lead on us.
I'm telling you, my picks were in, dude. I don't know how that happened. If I end up losing because of that, I am going to be totally pissed. You don't know, I check this just about every day to make sure that my picks are in.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened either, man. That's hard to come back. That is super impressive because that's really hard to come back from.
Yeah,
with 2 weeks left, I don't know how we can come back on a 5-game lead.
Well, you should start picking like Nick does and pick the underdog in every game. Continue just to ride Carolina the rest of the year. I think Nick has now picked Carolina like 5 or 6 weeks in a row now.
we're to that point of the season. I'm just taking whoever sounds good at the moment. Really,
I need you to pick Carolina, and I need Carolina to win next week also. So if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it.
There you go. I'm on it.
Yeah, but this, 15 correct picks in week 15. I mean, yeah, that's tough to do.
So,
That is
yeah, well, I
tough.
backed it up with the 2 though. Okay, I have the high score of the year and the low score of the year.
Is that accurate? Oh, yeah.
Well, you got a 2 in there. Well, but that was your off week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you probably, even if you were on the low end here and you got 6 right, yeah, you'd be almost double-digit lead on
Well,
it.
if you go down to the week that I did that, I looked at it. Go down to the week. Where is that? Right there at the bottom. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I probably would have picked Pittsburgh on that. Detroit, Indy, definitely would have taken Detroit. Some of these games, Tampa Bay, New York Giants, I would have probably taken the majority. So those weren't even toss-up games. KC and Carolina, I'm not taking Carolina. That may have been the last week that Nick didn't take Carolina. So
Yeah, you probably have 5 more right. You would have been up on us by 10 by now.
anyways, we'll make it close. So
We'll see. But all right. So all the marbles next week. Bears Mike versus maybe Nick if his corner shows up.
We hope.
Well, it'll be a long night for Nick. Nick's going to watch the game and want every ball thrown that direction. So,
fortunately, they've got like 3 or 4 other defensive players out, so he's certainly going to get all the snaps. We just need one big play early, and then I can turn it off and
go to bed early, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but I can go play video games or something nerdy like that.
Well, anyways, if you do get your 8 points, congratulations to both of you guys. You guys are both have outstanding seasons this year. May the player holdouts bite you in the butt this year and spend some of that salary cap for you next year. Make it a little bit easier on the rest of us. So congrats, guys.
Hey, thank you guys. And thank
Job well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. Everybody wants to see us next week, same time, next Monday at 7. Good luck to you both.
We'll be talking to one of you two next week.
That's right.
We're calling somebody back. So
good luck, Mike.
Good luck, Nick. Hey, if you're talking to me, I'm out of country next Monday, so that's going to be an issue. But we'll catch up at some point.
Well, if you're out, if you do win, you better send some notes in that you want to say as the MDFL champion. You better have some closing words for the rest of the other 31 teams.
I will pre-record a message, 2 messages, one in the event that I win and one in the event that I lose.
Oh, I like it.
Speech. I'll get those both of you guys ahead of time. It'll be good.
Good deal. Appreciate that. And Nick, I expect nothing less from you, right?
I will be here.
Good deal.
Either way, I'll be here to cry or I'll be here to celebrate.
May you get your 8 points tonight.
Thank you.
Get them late in the fourth quarter. Make you wait all night long.
Yeah.
Last 2 minutes.
End. Rip the ball out of the guy's hand. Fumble recovery.
In overtime.
Double overtime.
In overtime.
Oh man.
So.
All right, boys.
All right. Hey, Merry Christmas to all, and we'll see you guys next week.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you.
See you guys.
Take
Thanks
care.
for joining us.
See ya.